Hi all and welcome back to the final portion of tonight's show. That last comment or last piece was not a direct attack or personal attack, but it may get perceived that way, and I don't particularly care because things need to be addressed. But it was not a personal attack, but certainly there's been a lot being said, but there's also a lot that hasn't been said. And it's things like that need to be addressed publicly. As you know, Kim's in a very awkward situation, and I think all our members appreciate that, of which way to go, how the way to do things. And there's a lot of clownery and skullduggery, and a lot of people who are just there for show me the money. I guess we all know who that is. But as the guardian of the trust, you have to be accountable for where that money is going. Otherwise, you end up personally taking all the flack. And this is the difficulty she has when there's only one person to bounce off. You know, and that's why I played that second song. My door is always open for the work, because there's a far bigger picture here that is playing out, and making mistakes of that level is not acceptable. Maybe she was threatened into it, who knows? But every single cent that comes out of that trust has to be accounted for, and has to be double and triplicate sure that it's not going to keep the clowns going. Those clowns are on the end. We don't need to be giving them money to keep them going for a further few months until they come up with another shitty scheme and push their cryptos out. It's a difficult position. I appreciate the position she's in, but she's not helping herself by isolating herself from everybody. And I'm not too sure she's fully grasped the position she's in. I understand it. You know, she said in the past that she would get all the money out to the projects, and she's tried real hard with that. We both have. Her far more than me on that level. And done everything, and it's block. But at some point, you have to cut off giving any funds out from the trust until the people's money and her money comes first. And this is what I was asking for near 18 months ago. These promises of 2% is becoming almost as legendary as the RV happening tomorrow. No, 2% up front. Then you give the trust funds out. Not the other way round. That has to stop, because that's all that's happening. 454 billion has just gone into the Fed and the Black Sun for them to harvest all the ruddy equities and bonds and companies and debt and pass it back over to the people. That's a massive oversight. And it needs to be addressed. And like I said, it's not a personal attack. It's a business and trust related issue. That is the important difference. Final piece tonight. We're going to put a load of people on notice, because it seems like Facebook, like Microsoft, are now deemed as medical experts as they decide what are cures and treatments and Gates decides when the second wave will hit and when the vaccine's going to come out, and how life will only return back to normal. There will not be normal anymore when everyone is tested and then fake vaccinated. And this is utter madness, the path we're going down now, and has validated the Clowns in Panic show several times over now. COVID means clowns own vaccine ID. And the 19 is not the date, but the number of the letters equaling AI. The economy crashing, that was going to happen anyway. We warned of it years back. Kim was telling them all, Trump 4 years ago, they're going to crash America. They just needed an excuse to do so. With a dwindling pot of real money that is estimated now at 40 to 60 trillion, which is less than half of the global GDP, which is set around 123 trillion in recent years, something had to give. With a dwindling pot of money, the supply chain of money had to be curtailed and has been. The closing down with all the businesses they deemed not suitable went, but largely kept their businesses open but with restricted access. With less people spending, there is less need for money to flow. And job losses was inevitable, just as we warned, as there's not enough funds to keep the existing global economy going. And if you think it will return to previous levels before March 2020, you need to think again. Seriously think again. It's not happening. Food distribution and growing issues, and the shortages we also highlighted as a future issue last year, is now taking effect, as we mentioned earlier. There are solutions to it. Welcome to 3D printed food, now launched in KFC stores, which means killing fucking chickens. Launched, they say. Since when do they just launch things? What that really means is they've been selling it previously and no one noticed. So that is now added to the plastic rice being sold to the Africans in vast quantities by China. But with the intel talk of the 30 million dead in China given in our show in April, and the earlier piece of 100 million being evacuated due to floods in China, and then the potential of the Three Gorges Dam failing with about 400 million people living in the path of the dam, and then add in India and China fighting into the mix. This then brings in another solution to their game plan: depopulation. Depopulation is happening due to COVID deaths? No, it was going to happen anyway, as we had warned. But Bill Gates has told the world that fact several times, and the bots just sit there in a mental stupor thinking, I don't think he means us, I think he means foreigners. Like that's any different. But if disaster does strike in China with a dwindling money pot, shrinking businesses, shrinking jobs, there does arise another issue. Who and what is going to replace China's current domination of their globally sold products? The supply chain shortage globally has already taken effect. And that, yes, they're blaming the virus, but it's not the virus at all. And remember, China, are the lead exporter. If they don't have the capacity or funds to produce anymore, who will? America? Not likely anytime soon. Where are the manufacturing and engineering expertise going to come from in America to cover the losses? Given the pool of those skill sets is minimal in this country due to the 30-year reduction and closure program of manufacturing plants in this country and the continued harvesting by the CIA and their subsidiaries of any type of skill set above service-based jobs. There is a massive shortfall of people with the expertise to carry out a self-dependency country. And with around 80% of American jobs being service-based and less than 8% being manufacturing jobs, and with the Bureau of Statistics forecasting a further fall of around 1% within the next 5 years, where are the people with the required skill sets in this country going to come from? It's all fine stating we will grow or make our own products. And I think all countries should be independent on that front. And it encourages sovereignty. But with a populace of low skill sets, we will have the demand, but not the numbers required to carry that supply and demand out. Everyone growing or making their own products would be a great thing, as it would end the dependency on and to the so-called richer countries, along with the various bogus trade deals that operate globally, which would cease, all of which were designed to harvest off each product and country, largely at the behest of the UN, Rothschilds, Dragons Groups, Black Sun and their subsidiaries. So with only 40 to 60 trillion of money flowing globally and the clowns intent on blocking the trust funds to the people because they don't and can't control it, we are facing the prospect of only a third of businesses and a third of jobs operating globally still operating. That's the harsh fact. And our biggest issue we face is the supply of food. With already 3 billion facing food shortages and starvation, that figure will increase unless swift actions are taken by governments. And also an end to the ridiculous laws in this country where it's a felony to produce your own food in certain states, which means we always stay dependent on them. It has not worked out too well for us, has it? In fact, it hasn't worked out well at all. Now, this next section applies to the organisations in this country and the up-and-coming job reduction in this country. And this is to the organisations who still run the old order control-based system. You should listen with an open mind and think about this country and its people for the first time in your lives. To the CIA, 1 through 4, NSA, DHS, FBI, universities, research centres, military bases, mercenaries, the IRS, the Fed, government jobs and all of the military. All of you were employed to run the old control-based system, whether you realise that or not. But the old control-based system has collapsed, and they are building a new, leaner and slimmer one. And you lot will not be part of it. Yes, you heard that right. You will all be drastically reduced at best or replaced totally. All of the above was largely created to run the military arm of the control system. With less funds and less need to control things now, again, something has to give. Take into account the US military budget alone is publicly just short of $1 trillion per year. And the US government is the largest employer in the world by far at 23.5 million. With a bit of common sense applied, it tells you that that system is no longer viable or affordable. And the cost for the clowns to run the old base system American company, not government, company, plus agencies and military is a staggering $13.25 billion per day. $13.25 billion per day. And they now can no longer afford to cover those costs. So what happens next? The 17 agencies based in the USA were all designed to spy on each other, as our show revealed last year. Everyone was eavesdropping on each other, all designed to keep each other in check at the behest of the controllers and also Kim's predecessor. Why do they need 17 agencies anymore? The answer is they don't. And they have made strides to replace it with a 100% public-based agency. The NATO handbook and the open source details reveals that, all set up by a CIA shell company aptly named, I might add, OSS, and ran by an alleged is there ever an alleged CIA man, Robert David Steele. And their plan is to make the public become the spies by spying on each other. It says so in their manual. And for those of you who struggle to comprehend, that means you are about to get replaced with a cheaper system using the public, chips and smartphones. The US military, the DoD and Pentagon, you're next in line. You are overbloated in terms of staff and expenditures, and they've already developed your replacements. It's called NATO. In the Paris Climate Agreement, all countries who have signed up for it must give 2% of their GDP to NATO. For the Rothschilds are now building up their own private army, which is NATO. Or ATON, to be precise. And with the development of technology, which as some of you know is way more advanced than the public perceive, they will replace all of you with technology. It's already in the works. Drones will replace aircraft and soldiers. With the robot army already built, and no, they are not like the awkward wobbling bots that they put out to the public, they will replace the boots on the ground soldiers, and also the police force, hence the defunding line. Machines don't need to be paid or fed, you see. And with the advance in technology, they will replace all of you bar a handful to run their new operations. You all thought you had the golden ticket and you would stay on the gravy train. Newsflash, you are not. And you will be cast aside as fast as the Rothschilds were out of the Fed. The Facebook Libre Manifesto told you much if you read with clear minds and understood it properly. The term decentralizing does not only apply to removing banks, but all of you also. Even those of you with several badges of dishonor on your shoulders or breasts of your jackets. You have to understand, You have fulfilled your roles in their game and you are about to become surplus to requirements. And their next stage is the machine, technology, and AI. Are you still that stupid you cannot see it yet? Are you still blinded with the promises of cashing in your warehouses of fake dinars? Do you still think the Russians, Chinese, and Iranians are the problem? No. The problem was you lot all along. You fell for your own illusion programs of false promises, fake wealth, fake statuses, and now the hammer on you all is about to fall. They warned us all with series like Continuum, Terminator, District 9, Westworld, and I could go on. And everyone gorged on their ball games and burgers, distracted with global warming and now coronavirus. The Russians are coming to get us, whilst ignoring your own history that those same nasty Russians were the one who saved your asses twice back in the 1800 wars. They fed, clothed and armed you. I will repeat again. Technology overreach is the end of us all. No matter how many fake titles, badges or pieces of paper you have, we stand on the threshold of the greatest leap for humanity on this planet, and all it requires is for the people to see through the illusion and working together to correct it, including you, Ms. Trustee. All of us together working. Technology has a role in our lives, but it must not be allowed to prevail and ultimately control our lives. And a message to the members of the US government, military, agencies, banks and all the old system corporations and subsidiaries are hereby put on notice of your own demise. And we are requesting you take the appropriate action forthwith. We the people invite you all to engage us and chart a better, fairer, transparent and peaceful planet for us all. We await your input.